On the cusp of adulthood, Claire had envisioned her 18th birthday as a moment of triumph and self-discovery. The early morning sun filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow on her cluttered room, where remnants of her teenage life mingled with burgeoning dreams. Her grandparents had surprised her with the most extraordinary gift, a trip to New Zealand, a land of breathtaking landscapes and adventures that would ignite her passion for life beyond the confines of her small hometown. But as Claire stood there, cradling the travel documents in her hands, she felt a heavy cloud of tension looming overhead. Her parents' voices echoed in her mind, laden with disappointment and reproach. "You're being selfish," her mother had said with a sharpness that cut deeper than she cared to admit. "Zoe needs this more than you do." Claire's older sister, Zoe, was a budding architecture student, her talents celebrated and nurtured at every turn, while Claire had always felt like a shadow cast by Zoe's brilliance. The trip, which had been meant for Claire's growth, became yet another illustration of her family's unyielding favoritism. As Claire entered the kitchen, the atmosphere was thick with unspoken resentment. Zoe, a striking figure with her cascading auburn hair and a confidence that filled the room, stood at the counter, meticulously arranging her travel essentials as if preparing for a grand architectural expedition. Their parents flitted around like anxious bees, their frowns punctuating the air. "You should be proud of your sister, Claire. This is an opportunity for her to shine," her father remarked, oblivious to the glances exchanged between the sisters. "It's only fair," Zoe chimed in, her tone light but edged with something Claire could not quite place, a blend of victory and smugness. "Right, because I'm so unimportant," Claire replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. A twinge of resentment bubbled beneath her skin, but she swallowed it down, vowing to be the dutiful daughter, the accommodating sister. As Zoe boarded her taxi for the airport, Claire's heart sank further. She wanted to be happy for her sister, but the ache of betrayal was too potent. The taxi's engine revved, and with it, Claire's hope of finding peace within her family shrank into the rearview mirror. The text message that flashed across her phone just hours later was like a thunderclap. "Zoe's been in an accident," it read. The crash had involved a minor collision with another vehicle, but it was enough to send ripples of chaos through the family. Their parents' immediate shift from excitement to panic was palpable. "This is all your fault," her mother accused later that night, her voice trembling with anger. "If you hadn't given her the trip, she wouldn't have been so distracted." "I didn't give her anything. It was my gift," Claire shot back, her heart racing with a mixture of guilt and indignation. But her words fell on deaf ears, and the family drama escalated. Zoe's attempts to downplay the incident only exacerbated tensions, leading to an avalanche of guilt that buried Claire under its weight. The once close family dynamic began to unravel, the threads of trust and love fraying with every accusation. In the days that followed, the fallout from the accident hung over the family like a dark cloud, casting shadows on Claire's thoughts. The once vibrant home was now filled with whispers and glances, each one laden with blame. Her parents, unable to cope with the financial implications of the accident, turned their frustrations on Claire, berating her for being the cause of their downfall. Desperate to escape the suffocating atmosphere, Claire sought refuge in the company of her grandparents, who had always provided a contrasting warmth to her parents' chill. They welcomed her with open arms, offering her solace and understanding. It was during one of their heart-to-heart conversations that Claire opened up about her feelings of neglect and resentment. "They always favored Zoe," she admitted, her voice trembling as she recounted the countless moments where her worth had felt diminished. "I feel like I'm invisible to them." Her grandparents, stunned by the gravity of her words, listened intently. "You are not invisible, Claire. You matter just as much," her grandmother said, her voice filled with unwavering love. "We've always seen you." For the first time in years, Claire felt validated. With their encouragement, she started to envision a future where she was the protagonist, not just a supporting character in her sister's story. Her grandparents offered her a lifeline, a promise of support for college, and an invitation to live with them. It was a transformative moment, igniting a spark of hope within her that had long been dimmed. Meanwhile, the tensions at home escalated. Zoe, struggling with her own guilt, avoided the family, spending long hours at her university's library while their parents attempted to blame Claire for the ongoing chaos. "You think you're so innocent, but your selfishness has repercussions," her father spat one evening, the words laced with bitterness. "Selfish? I didn't crash the taxi. I'm not the one who decided to be reckless," Claire retorted, her voice rising in defiance. Their arguments became a regular occurrence, echoing through the halls of their home. Claire could no longer bear the toxic atmosphere, and with each harsh word exchanged, her decision to sever ties with her parents solidified. The final straw came when her parents sent an accusatory message demanding repayment for her upbringing. "You owe us for raising you," they insisted, attempting to extract guilt from their daughter. "We've spent too much on you for you to just leave." Claire's heart pounded with disbelief. This was it. She was done. She sent a brief reply, "I owe you nothing." The sense of liberation surged within her as she envisioned a life free from their manipulation. With each passing day, Claire's resolve strengthened. Living with her grandparents in their serene home by the lake felt like stepping into a new world, where the air was fresher, the sky bluer, and her dreams more attainable. Surrounded by nature's beauty, Claire began to rediscover herself. Her grandparents became a rock, instilling in her the confidence she had been missing. They nurtured her interests, encouraging her to pursue her passion for photography, which she had long shelved in the shadow of her sister's ambitions. The gentle hum of the lake became the backdrop to her new life, where she could express herself without fear of judgment. As she prepared for college, Claire felt the weight of her past begin to lift. Her grandparents helped her navigate the applications and financial aid, ensuring she wouldn't face the hurdles her parents had thrown in her path. Their unwavering support was a stark contrast to her previous experiences. For the first time, she felt the freedom to choose her own path. But the remnants of her family's turmoil lingered in her mind. One afternoon, while going through old photographs, Claire stumbled upon a picture of her and Zoe, arms wrapped around each other, faces beaming with joy from a simpler time. Nostalgia washed over her, and she couldn't help but wonder if reconciliation was possible. "Do you think we'll ever be able to mend things?" she asked her grandmother, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Her grandmother placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Sometimes family can surprise you, but remember, you have to take care of yourself first. Your happiness is what matters." As Claire prepared for her first day at college, excitement and anxiety swirled within her. She was ready to forge her own identity and step into a world that promised growth and opportunity. But just as she began to embrace this new chapter, her phone buzzed with a message that shattered her newfound peace. "We need to talk." It was from Zoe. Claire's heart raced as she stared at the message, the anxiety coursing through her veins like a jolt of electricity. Zoe's text felt like a harbinger of old wounds reopening, but a part of her yearned for resolution. She had spent weeks pondering their fractured relationship, and now the moment had come to face the demons that had haunted them both. Reluctantly, she agreed to meet at a coffee shop halfway between their homes. When Claire arrived, Zoe was already there, nervously stirring her drink. The once vibrant sister now seemed drained, her usual confidence replaced with an air of vulnerability. "Hey," Claire said, her voice barely above a whisper as she slid into the seat opposite her sister. The silence hung heavily between them, thick with unspoken words. "I wanted to talk about everything," Zoe began, her eyes darting around the cafe, avoiding direct contact. "I felt terrible about everything that happened." Claire's heart softened momentarily. "I know, but you were never the problem. It was Mom and Dad pushing us against each other." Zoe nodded, her expression shifting to one of regret. "I was so focused on my own goals that I didn't see how much it hurt you. I should have stood up for you." The tension began to thaw as they shared their stories, each recounting the ways they had felt overlooked and judged. "When I saw how they treated you, it made me question everything. I didn't want to be the reason for your pain," Zoe admitted, her voice trembling. Claire listened, her anger slowly melting away. "I just wanted to feel like I mattered," she said, her voice cracking. "It felt like you were always the star, and I was just there." As they spoke, they discovered the pain they had both endured was rooted in their parents' expectations and the toxic environment they had been raised in. "I'm sorry for not being there for you when you needed me," Zoe said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Can we start over? I want to be a better sister." Claire took a deep breath, the weight of years of resentment slowly lifting. "I want that too, but it's going to take time," she replied, her heart racing with the possibility of healing. As they left the cafe, a fragile sense of hope flickered between them. For the first time, they felt like allies rather than adversaries, united in their struggle against their parents' manipulation. Claire understood that trust couldn't be rebuilt overnight, but this was a step forward, a journey toward reconciling the past. The days following Claire and Zoe's heart-to-heart were filled with tentative conversations and newfound camaraderie. While the scars of their upbringing wouldn't vanish instantly, they committed to rebuilding their relationship. They met regularly, sharing coffee and laughter, and the bond that had once felt strained began to mend. However, the shadows of their family history lingered, and Claire felt a nagging curiosity about the secrets that had shaped her parents' behavior. One evening, while rummaging through old family albums, she discovered a faded envelope tucked between the pages of a forgotten scrapbook. Inside were letters dated from the late 1980s, containing snippets of a life she barely recognized, one filled with whispers of betrayal and heartache. "Dear Mom," the first letter began, written in her mother's distinctive handwriting. "I'm so sorry I couldn't tell you before. I never wanted to hurt you, but I fell in love with someone else." Claire's heart raced as she read on, her eyes widening at the revelations of a love affair that had been buried under layers of family pride and secrecy. The letters detailed her mother's struggle between duty and desire, the sacrifices she made to uphold the family's reputation. That night, Claire couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. How had her mother's past shaped the present? She shared her findings with Zoe, who listened in shock, her own curiosity piqued. "We need to confront them," Zoe suggested, her voice steady. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about understanding the roots of their favoritism." Determined, Claire crafted a plan. They would gather their parents for dinner, creating a safe space for honesty. It was time to confront the lies that had festered within their family for too long. On the night of the dinner, the air was thick with anticipation. Claire and Zoe set the table meticulously, a mix of hope and dread filling the room. Their parents arrived, tension palpable as they exchanged awkward pleasantries. As they settled in, Claire took a deep breath. "Mom, Dad, there's something we need to discuss. We found some old letters about you and your past." Her parents exchanged nervous glances, the color draining from their faces. "What are you talking about?" her father snapped, defensively. "Letters from Mom's youth. About a secret affair," Claire said, her voice steady despite the tumult inside. Silence enveloped the room, and for a moment, it felt as if time had stopped. Her mother's eyes widened in shock, but it was her father's face that revealed the depths of their shared secrets. Claire's revelation hung in the air like a thick fog, stifling the atmosphere as their parents recoiled from the truth. "You have no idea what you're talking about," her father barked, but there was a tremor in his voice that betrayed the facade he had maintained for so long. "Actually, we do," Zoe interjected, her voice stronger now. "We've been living under the weight of your lies for too long. We deserve the truth." Claire's heart pounded as she faced her mother, searching for any hint of vulnerability beneath the layers of denial. "Mom, you wrote those letters. You felt trapped. We deserve to understand how your past has shaped our lives." Her mother's composure crumbled, and the tears that flowed were a torrent of regret. "I was young and foolish. I made mistakes and I thought I could bury them," she sobbed. "But I see now that my choices have hurt you both." The emotional dam had broken, and with it the hidden truths began to pour out. Their mother recounted the weight of her decisions, how the fear of judgment had silenced her voice for years. Claire and Zoe listened, realizing that the favoritism they had endured stemmed from a deep-seated need for their mother to project an image of perfection. "I never wanted you to make the same mistakes I did," their mother admitted, the shame evident in her eyes. "But I see now that my actions pushed you both away." The conversation shifted as their father, too, began to unravel. "I've always supported your mother, but I failed to recognize how my expectations affected you," he confessed. "I was so focused on maintaining our family's image that I didn't see you, either of you." The weight of their parents' honesty felt like a breath of fresh air, clearing away the cobwebs of resentment. With each revelation, Claire and Zoe began to see their parents not just as flawed figures, but as individuals grappling with their own demons. In the weeks following that pivotal dinner, the atmosphere within the family began to shift. The walls that had once separated them crumbled, allowing for vulnerability and healing. Claire and Zoe formed a newfound alliance with their parents, each day marked by conversations that were both difficult and necessary. They began to share their own journeys, revealing the impact their parents' favoritism had had on their lives. "I always felt like I was competing for your love," Claire admitted one night, her voice trembling with emotion. "It's taken me this long to realize that I don't need to compete, I need to be myself." Her father nodded, remorse etched across his face. "We're sorry for the pain we caused. We never intended to make you feel less than." As they worked through their issues, the family found solace in activities they had once enjoyed together: game nights, shared meals, and even spontaneous road trips. The laughter that echoed through their home signified a gradual restoration of trust. Meanwhile, Claire immersed herself in her college studies, fueled by the support of her grandparents and the newfound unity with her family. Photography became her voice, allowing her to capture the world through her lens, while narrating the complexities of human emotion. Zoe flourished as well, channeling her architectural ambitions into meaningful projects that reflected their family's journey toward healing. Together, they became each other's cheerleaders, embracing their unique paths while mending the threads of sisterhood. Yet Claire couldn't shake the feeling that the past still held some unresolved issues. One evening, as she reviewed her photographs from the past few months, she came across a picture that encapsulated a pivotal moment in her life, a candid shot of her and Zoe at the lake, laughing freely. In that moment, she realized they had come a long way, but the shadows of their family history still lingered. Driven by a need for closure, Claire decided to confront the remnants of their tumultuous past. She suggested a family retreat to the lake house where her grandparents had raised her mother. "We need to address everything, truly close this chapter," she said, her determination unwavering. The weekend at the lake house was infused with anticipation. As they gathered in the familiar surroundings, the scent of pine and the gentle lapping of water provided a calming backdrop for the difficult conversations ahead. Claire took a deep breath, grateful for the chance to confront the past in a place filled with cherished memories. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue across the lake, they gathered around a crackling fire, the warmth of the flames mirroring the warmth of their burgeoning connection. "Tonight, let's lay everything on the table," Claire began, her heart racing. "This is our chance to heal fully, to move forward without the weight of our past holding us back." Her parents exchanged glances, nodding in agreement. The air was thick with tension, but there was also an undeniable sense of hope. "I want to apologize for my part in everything," their father said, his voice filled with sincerity. "I know my expectations placed an immense burden on both of you." Her mother added, "I never meant to choose one of you over the other. I see now how my past choices shaped our family dynamic. I was scared, and I didn't know how to communicate that." As they spoke, Claire and Zoe found themselves sharing their deepest fears and insecurities, realizing that they had all been navigating the complexities of their family's legacy in isolation. Tears flowed freely as they shared their pain and regrets, creating an emotional tapestry of vulnerability that bound them together. In that moment, Claire felt a profound sense of connection, one that transcended the past. The night wore on, filled with laughter and tears as they reminisced about the joys and challenges they had faced together. With each story shared, the burden of their family's history felt lighter, and they forged a renewed sense of unity. As dawn broke over the horizon, casting a soft light across the lake, Claire felt a sense of peace wash over her. The healing journey was far from over, but they had taken significant strides toward reconciliation. Embracing the promise of new beginnings, the family committed to nurturing their relationships. Claire realized that the secrets that once threatened to tear them apart had ultimately brought them closer together. They emerged from the lake house, not just as a family but as a collective force, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead together. With the shadows of their past fading, Claire looked toward the future, embracing the adventures that awaited her. She had found her voice, and with her family by her side, she was ready to create a life filled with authenticity, love, and the promise of new memories. So if you love this story, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell, and comment below. Your interaction helps us grow,